Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. So would anyone like to begin?
I'll start. So pretty straightforward. I have done 2 of the sides of the first line and the back of this. So I don't know if you can see, but
Looks great. Looks really straight and neat.
thanks.
Great work.
Thanks.
And I trust that none of that's visible in the front.
Absolutely not. I check every time.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lynn, how about you?
Me? I'll put mine on, shall I? I'm hoping that it's.
Ooh, this is exciting, Lynne.
I'm hoping. I haven't done the pine needle stitch yet.
Wow.
But I've done.
Oh, wow.
Looks great.
Oh, there we go.
Pull it up a little, Lynn.
Well, if I stand back a little, then you can see.
Yes. Oh, much better. Much better.
Yeah,
oh, beautiful. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed.
Yes.
Yes. And will you stand in Shashu so we can just see how that feels for you? Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
That looks okay.
Yeah, I can just imagine you in the Zendo waiting for the next bow or something. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gives me hope.
And the straps look good, don't they? The way you've done the straps, it all looks neat and lovely.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not. There we go. There's always a little bit of something that you don't quite. Just hope it sits okay. But it's.
The only thing I'd say is, would you want it slightly higher, or are you happy with the length where it sits? Or would you
No, I'm happy with where it sits. I'm happy with that because I can put that under there like that. Yeah, you know, some people have it slightly higher, don't they? And some people have it slightly lower, and you know.
I guess it's a preference, isn't it? It's just.
Well, and that's how it works out, isn't it? Really.
And it's based on the shashu position more than it is anything relative to the body itself, not the navel nor the chest. It's relative to where you hold shashu, and some people do hold it much higher, and some do hold it much lower. I've seen.
Notice, don't you? It's they're all different.
Absolutely, yeah. I know a rather portly fellow who holds his shashu on top of his belly, and so his Rakasu is much shorter than you would expect for a man of his size. And but it was with that intention of I wouldn't, well, maybe concealing is the right word. It's of just that's where he holds it, so that's where he sewed it, and it looks fine. It makes sense in context.
Yeah, we all have different shapes, don't we?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but it looks good.
So my intention today is to draw out the pine needle stitch on a piece of paper, I think.
Great. Great. Yes,
But
I do have, I have not tested it yet, but I received from another teacher a printable template that theoretically by default, and I haven't tested this on my computer, so I don't know if it varies on Windows versus Mac or what have you, but theoretically, when you print it and cut it out, it should match the size of the template should match the size of the neck piece.
Right.
So then you can puncture the template in the correct holes and actually just mark that way. If you'd like, I'd be happy to send that to you if you want to.
So it's like a
explore that.
pattern? It's like a pattern?
It is like a pattern, yes.
Yeah, wow,
I
wonderful.
mean, I've measured my neck piece, and when I looked at the diagram of the pine needle stitch, it says that it's 9 across. Mine is 9.5, and so I'm thinking, well, I'll have to adapt it slightly then anyway.
Does that mean
Does that make you the first person in the Justice Sangha to have completed your own sword Rakasu then?
No, Trudy's finished hers, but she hasn't got the pine needle stitch on the back because Catherine's going to do that, because it's for Catherine. So so no, Trudy was first. Of course.
I feel like we should have had a drum roll for that moment, Lynne, when you stood up with that on.
Well,
It's interesting putting it on. I put it on when we were doing some of the packs for people, and we were lighting the incense, and yeah, I was quite emotional actually wearing it. It felt really, really different putting it on and lighting the incense for the first time with it on. Touched me.
Well, let's do this real quickly. Maria, I'd like to hear your check-in, and then I'd actually...
So what is, I finished the inner lines, didn't I? So I'm starting on the middle line. So I've measured the you won't be able to see it on there, but there's a border going all the way around where I've managed to make a perfect, well, not perfect, a rectangle. I've made a rectangle and it looks okay. So now I'm just beginning to stitch that middle line, and I'm going to unpick because I began stitching them at the end of the last class and they are not very good. So I'm going to unpick the first 4 stitches that I did on this middle line and then begin, because it seems a bit different going right through. It's a different feel again, going right through the whole frame from back to front and all the layers. It seems to be having to do it a bit different and to get the same stitch. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I'm back to getting my stitches right again. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I encourage you to pick if it feels necessary, but maybe challenge it. Maybe see, especially if it's in a position that's not visible, like in the top corners. You might hesitate. You might hesitate from the pick and let that be the reflection of that. Let the mirror show who stood in front of it at that time. That might just be an interesting practice for you.
Yeah.
So some
thank you.
consideration there. And maybe practice stitches too. You mentioned an interesting point. I've recently been sewing on the on this donation rocker. So I've been sewing on the corners, and I've been experimenting with different methods of doing it so that I can, I have this toolkit for students, and it really is different sewing through. You'll see this, but the corners of those corners, there's a lot of bundled fabric there. There's a lot of material, and then when you're attaching the straps to the actual frame, there's a lot of material there. So you're right, there is a very different character versus when you're first attaching your panels.
Yeah, you can see how the different feelings that were there present, the different kind of parts of me that were showing up, and whether I was feeling a little bit impatient or rushy, or whether I was feeling quite settled and still. You can really see it reflected in different parts of the Rakasu. It really is like holding a mirror up, isn't it?
Yeah. sometimes the hand knows how to sews it and sews it fine, and sometimes I get in the way. Is
That's
a
right,
way
isn't
I've
it?
heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've had a go on a practice piece of cloth. I'm just looking to see if that looks right. Can you see?
That looks quite right. Yeah. So will you confirm? Yeah, it looks good. Will you confirm that? So let me actually use my camera. I'll use mine as a reference. And they all come down through almost the exact same hole there in
Yeah,
that X piece. Yeah, great. That looks great. Yeah, that looks just
and
like
then
it.
it should be the same on the back, presumably.
Perfect. Yeah, that is good. The one thing I notice, and this might be because you didn't pin the pieces terribly carefully, the angle looks kind of tight on the back side. That shortest little needle,
Yeah,
that
this,
looks a
this
little, the angle looks tight on the back. Does it look tight on the front?
no,
It looks okay on the front. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that might just be the pinning. Do give care whenever you do it, that you'll want to be inserting your needle perpendicularly,
yeah.
just so that it truly is a mirror image. Though that I mentioned, I studied recently with that teacher, who's kind of one of the most experienced in North America, and she is incredibly stringent about the back matching the front, so much so that she actually has her students do the pine needle stitch before attaching the straps, so that they
All right.
have less to maneuver as they're trying to get that thread perpendicular.
Yeah.
I'm not certain. I think Anna and I are in agreement that we still want to do the attaching first, but that is an aim. Mine's not perfect. My back is slightly less precise than my front. I think that's perfectly, like, there's some expectation that that is possible, but that is kind of an effort. So
Yes, getting the exactness of it. Yes, I don't think I've quite gone through the same hole at the top, at the back, which is me probably just being hasty and wanting to see if I could see how it worked. But yeah, okay.
I think you've proven that you understand how to measure and mark it out, and that's the big thing for that test piece. So yeah, we'll give it a go. And I don't know, if you think about it, it really is a very small number and small length of stitch compared to what you've done this whole time. So, if you can do those frame stitches, why rush now, right?
Yes, indeed. There is no rush.
Yes. Very
Thank you.
confident from here.
Thank you.
Good. Gives a nice cyclical, seasonality to my balance keeping, and that's been valuable to me.
Yeah, you get to know your rhythms, don't you, and what your different rhythms are throughout the year, and so what you need to kind of do and not do.
Do and not do.
Quite a dance.
Yes. Beautiful one. You know who a Buddhist teacher who uses the language of dance a lot is Jack Kornfield, who he was my doorway to Buddhism. If you're familiar with him, you know he's a very some people decry him as being too Western, too syncretic, but I think he does it well. And he talks about the Sufi dancers and how for them dance is their practice. And so why can't it be ours too? It just looks different. Dancing on the cushion, he would say.
Yeah. I mean, the act of dancing itself as well, because I used to jive, do modern jive. And the actual act of that, where you have to surrender control to your partner, whether you're playing the male or the female part, both male and female can play either part. But it's when you give up control and be led, and then you're leading, and then you're being led, and trying not to step on toes and trying to be. There's so much in dance that's just the practice, isn't it? It's the practice of life, of living.
Reminded, there's a really excellent mini documentary about the philosophy of Heidegger, and me and a couple of my Zen peers believe that it relates well to Zen practice. It's all about, a large focus of the documentary is about how masters of a craft are not necessarily doing in the way that a novice would do. And a novice is thinking about how they're lining up the ruler to the fabric, how they're seeing which mark is the best mark to pull, whereas a master, it's so embodied that they're just going, they're just doing. And even bring up how Ole from from Spain originally comes from exaltations of Allah, meaning that the person is embodying the divine through their mastery, which I thought was an interesting perspective.
Yeah, that reminds me actually of like when I used to dance, and it's like when you're thinking about it, it all goes wrong, and it's when you kind of let go of something, and there's this flow, there's this early stages of learning. There was these momentary flows of just getting it, just happened without even really knowing why, and it was some sort of surrendering to just going with everything that was happening in the moment, and the dance would just flow. And then as soon as my brain kicked in again, it would go wrong again. As soon as like you said right at the beginning of this class, as soon as I got in the way.
Yes. I'm
It all went
very
wrong.
practiced at getting in the way, so it's hard not to sometimes.
Yeah, getting out of our own way, it's a good Dharma talk, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about the merging of difference and unity, because what we're talking about, the getting out of the wayness, that's that feeling, at least for me, the way I've understood what we're talking about, that's what I think about when I do chants on the merging of difference and unity, and other talks about the universal and the particular, whatever words you want to use for that concept. I think about when it is merged for me, that moment of pure abiding, that pure presence, that it is me just, or it's the whatever manifestation you call John Miller, is just having the social interaction of joy, having the moment of skill on the bicycle, which is something I'm skilled at, having the moment of focus and clarity, cooking in the kitchen, which I love doing, you know. That's often what I think about when I think about merging a difference in unity too.
Mm. And you can feel it, can't you? When you can feel that difference when we're merged and when we're not. There's a real distinct feeling in the body.
So I've developed a technique, John, which I'm not sure, I'm interested to see whether it will work or not, but I'll tell you what I've done, which is I've photocopied my sheet that I had with the pine needle stitch on.
Okay.
And then I've cut out the little diagram.
And does it measure?
And I've used the little diagram to measure against my neck piece, allowing for the fact that it's 9.5 rather than 9. So I've got.
Is the one photocopied actually measured to 9 though?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
I think so. Yes, I measured it before. So, and then what I've done is I've made each mark with a pin.
Yes,
I've stuck through where the marks are, and actually the boho pencil will fit through there.
Spin it in the hole. That template I mentioned that I could send. That is effectively precisely how you're supposed to use it. I did not realize the one in our instructions. What a mess! What did I do? I did not realize the one in our instructions could do that.
So, yeah,
Wow! Look at that.
I've measured it, and I think it's about 9. Yes, is it?
Yeah, mine's exactly 9.
And then 4 the other way. But that will work. So I've stuck the boho pencil fits exactly through if you do it like a pinhole.
Yeah, no, I definitely support what you're doing. That will definitely work. And it's good to know that I can have others use this one here.
Yeah.
I never realized it was the correct proportions. I had never actually I always assumed that the printer would have somehow gotten it funny.
No, but it is the right proportions, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So,
great discovery, Lynne. Rediscovery, probably. You're awakening my ignorance. I'm sure someone knew this about this. That's wonderful. That's so simplifying. We used to, some less visually confident people used to really struggle with measuring out that grid, or how do they do that without making too many marks. So this will be a great boon to know that this works.
Good. That's good. Just being aware of the fact that actually your neck piece is not exactly 9, it's 9.5. 9 is, so you just have to make sure that you center it.
That was my thinking too. Center that 4.5 on the diagram to just whatever the
4.7
4.75.
or yeah, something like that. Just make sure that it's great. Ah. So when I'm doing the knot for this pine needle stitch, John, I just do an ordinary knot and just bury it under the neck piece. That's what I understand that I'm doing. Yeah, so it's just an ordinary knot.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
cool. Yes, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your what's left of your Easter day.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to dash over to Jukai now.
Yeah. I have to dash over to a birthday, then back over to Jukai. So.
Okay, go
Bye,
well,
everyone.
all of you.
Yeah, you'd lovely
Bye.
to see you both. Bye-bye.
Bye.